Hello and welcome in to another edition of the PHNX D-Backs podcast, live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. This one hurts, folks. I don't know how to sugarcoat this. I don't know how to spin this, but we're going to try. We're going to try to get through this. This was one of the most devastating losses of the Arizona Diamondbacks season, and we're going to talk about it. Hopefully, you're not as sad once you leave here, but who knows? Much like my family, I might make you even more sad by talking to me. I, of course, am Derek Montilla, occasionally known as your mayor of PHNX. I'm joined by Father Overlord Jacob on the ones and twos. That's Jacob Franklin over there. And, of course, Jesse Friedman will be joining us here from Los Angeles, from Dodger Stadium, the scene of the crime, where the Dodgers absolutely stole a game from the Diamondbacks in the ninth inning and broke all of our hearts. The Diamondbacks lose 6-5 in devastating fashion. They had a lead going into the ninth inning, as many of you know. Paul Sewald proceeded to strike out Gavin Lux and Shohei Ohtani in the ninth inning. And then with two outs, Sewald, our normally stable dad, gave up 3 hits in a row, which allowed the Dodgers to tie the game and take the win. Of course, there were some people blaming Torey Lovullo for this loss in several ways, which, I mean, it's kind of laughable because your closer was out there. You expect Paul Sewald to take care of business.
What do you want him to do?
I think the big thing that everybody wanted him to do was to walk Freddie Freeman when he had first base open, when it was Freddie Freeman.
Guess who had the game-winning hit? The guy who hits after Freddie Freeman.
That's exactly it. So this one definitely, I mean, Paul Sewald would probably be the first to take the blame for this one, right? Maybe the adrenaline was too high after striking out Shohei Ohtani. I know that I would be amped through the roof if I struck out Shohei Ohtani in the ninth inning. But yeah, of course, there's going to be a lot of people that nitpick it and say, walk Freddie Freeman there. That's a different reality that we don't live in that probably still results in the way that this was going in the Diamondbacks losing this game. But yeah, walking Freddie Freeman there is not a terrible idea at all. The bigger problem obviously being the fact that Paul Sewald, that you can normally rely on, wasn't that he wasn't that just in the final out. He was that for 2 outs. He just wasn't that for the final out. That seems like something the Diamondbacks get dealt a lot, where they're able to get the 2 outs in an inning, a big inning, an important inning, and they can't get, the one critical out to finish it off. But yeah, this one was heartbreaking. Of course, the curse is still on. The Diamondbacks are now 1-39 when they are down by 2 runs or more at any point in the game.
This one does not feel like it fits that category.
It really doesn't. It shouldn't fit that category.
Like, this is not they couldn't come back from multiple runs.
It fits that category. It's technically true. The Diamondbacks were down 2-0 early on. And of course, when you talk about the way that this game went, the way that they stacked this game, you had Joe Mantiply as the opener, which caused some people more questions about Torey because, of course, yes, putting your good lefty out of the pen in the first inning instead of in a critical inning later in the game doesn't seem like the smartest move. It worked out for them for the most part. I mean, the damage was limited. Ryne Nelson came in and was fairly fantastic. And maybe he should have just started this game. Again, who knows if he would have had the day he had if he started this game. Regardless, Joe Mantiply, Ryne Nelson, they go out there. They allow 2 earned runs. But the Diamondbacks were able to tie the game back up with a Christian Walker home run. The offense was pretty good in this game, even though, again, it's It's against one of the Dodgers, pitchers that isn't doing very well right now. They were still able to go out there and give themselves opportunities to win the game. Christian Walker hits home run number 18, scores Jock Peterson there in the 4th inning. Ketel Marte gave the Diamondbacks the lead with an RBI single that scored Perdomo. That was in, what was that, the 7th inning, I believe? I'm a little bit off right now when it comes to this. Mentally, I'm shook. I won't lie. That was in the 7th inning when they got the lead there. And then they just kept tacking on late runs, which we haven't really seen the Diamondbacks do. Jake McCarthy singled and scores Gabby Moreno on an error that ties the game at 4 in the top of the 8th. And then Jock Peterson hits one of the most monster home runs that we've seen this season, both in the timeliness of it, the opponent, the way that he turned around and looked at the dugout and did an amazing celebration, just smacking his chest. Everything about this felt like things were going the Diamondbacks' way, to be fair. I mean, the Diamondbacks had a lot of little mistakes being made on the Dodgers side, and it was leading to the Diamondbacks being able to score some runs. There was also huge moments where they were absolutely terrible with runners in scoring position. They had bases loaded with nobody out, and they're not able to bring a run in. That's pathetic. That's pathetic. I mean, I don't care how you manufacture that run. I don't care in what way you bring it in, but it's pretty pathetic for an offense to be able to load the bases and not be able to bring in a run. And it's something that we've seen this offense do entirely too many times. I don't really know what the answer is for that particularly, right? I mean, it's easy for me as an overweight 43-year-old man to sit here and say, hit the ball to the outfield. It's that easy. But baseball, unfortunately, is not that easy.
Derek, I think I know the problem.
Jacob, let's hear it.
After Jock hit the home run,
yeah.
Did you write your headline in Notion? Did you write your headline that said Jock Peterson hits game-winning home run against the Los Angeles Dodgers? Derek just left the studio. He's I think I offended him. Yeah, he deserves all of the blame. He did write his headline after Jock hit the home run.
I thought we've had a talk about this. I thought we stopped believing in these fairy tales. I thought that what I did with my facial hair, we all agreed upon, did not impact this team. And I truly thought we were to a place that things that I wrote privately on my notepad were exactly that. I don't understand why Jacob's making this business public. I don't know why he's putting all of my news out in the streets like this.
Look, man, I'm here for the people. I have zero. I love you as a person, but I have zero remorse for offering you up to the baseball gods right now.
I see. Look, now you're going to get people to thumbs down the video, and now we're going to fail as a company. And I hope you're proud of yourself.
There are 0 thumbs down. Actually, if you guys could hit the thumbs up, that would be wonderful.
Man, that's rough. That's rough. Well, not as rough as being 1-39 in games where you were down at some point in 2+ runs or more. But yeah, this is not great. That's not great. Yeah, Elise says, I'm just glad Damon isn't here to witness this. Damon antagonizes that behavior out of me. Just to say, I'm not trying to excuse his behavior, but of course, the bullpen had a lot to deal with. Honestly, it feels weird for me to talk shit about this Dodgers lineup. But when you're looking at this Dodgers lineup, do you really is it outside of Shohei Ohtani right now? You're not really thinking a lot of guys can beat you. And then you forget that Freddie Freeman really is as good as he is.
And
he hasn't been that really good at times against the Diamondbacks, right? But he was huge tonight. And I think that that's one of those moments where you're kind of overthinking and forgetting how good he is. You have a base open over there. If someone else beats you, someone else beats you. Teoscar Hernandez beat you. He's a very good player. He was having a good night. He's been having a good season. I mean, he's not... their lineup at times isn't unbeatable. And tonight, I think that's the one silver lining that you can take away from this is the Diamondbacks were able, for the most part.
They fought back into this game multiple times.
More so than they fought back in any game all season long.
I know that there were times where they left guys on base, the bases loaded, nobody out. Like,
Right.
those are inexcusable. But there were a lot of times that this team, they got big hits when they needed to. Marte got the hit. They created chaos with McCarthy's bunt. Corbin bunted over Perdomo at one point, who came around to score on the Marte single. Like, they did things right. But it just sometimes works like, baseball's just such a hard sport. It is not the fourth quarter when you have a 21-point lead and you can knee out the clock.
Yeah.
You can get all the outs in the world. They were down to their last strike.
And it was
you got to tip your hat because you still got to throw the ball over the plate.
It was a quiet Dodger Stadium. They weren't really riled up because they just watched Ohtani strike out. And I think that when that happens, you probably lost hope. But
for better or for worse, it's what makes baseball my favorite sport because you have to compete until the game is officially over. Like, there is there is just no way to bleed out a clock.
Yeah.
Like, you have to make a pitch.
This is, and I'll say this, Mays Devils talking about Teoscar striking out a lot. There's still a lot of people that feel like even though this is the guy that got the game-winning hit, like, this would have gone down differently if Sewald had Freeman on the base. Like, I don't see how that's the case, but I could see that you have Andy Pajes up after that. So then maybe you could limit the damage and maybe the game's just tied. But that's still the tie. That's still a tie. That's still not great. And we know the Diamondbacks haven't, they've been actually pretty decent in extra innings. But, I mean, this is Dodger Stadium. This is a lot to ask. So I think for the most part, after giving up, the lead again, I don't know how much the Diamondbacks would have had fight left in them in extra innings. Again, that's a different reality that we don't live in. The reality that we live in is this one where the Dodgers walked them off. And, of course, there are plenty of things that you could nitpick about this game. I will once again choose to say that the Diamondbacks really came close to winning against this Dodgers team. They played this game well, and this would have been honestly their best victory of the season if you ask me if they would have won. And I don't know if that's loser talk or not. It's probably
no, it absolutely would have been. But I did see a comment. I believe it was Cade. He said, if we play like this for the second half, I think we'll win a lot of games.
I think that's it.
I tend to agree with that sentiment.
Yeah. There was also a doomsday comment. If you could scroll back up a little bit, Jacob, I'll see it when you get to it, I believe. Right there, Chris Leap. Chris said, embarrassing. It's sad when you know the whole season is already a wash. Basketball can't come soon enough.
Last I checked, they're still in the hunt.
First of all, I would not. I mean, I don't know about the whole basketball can't come soon enough comment right now, but that's just because I'm a Suns fan and I've been hurt by that team worse than I've been hurt by this team. But I will also say, no, this is not how the season is gone. This actually game is much different from a lot of the games, the way the Diamondbacks have played a lot of these games. And I will say once again that you can't expect someone like Alek Thomas to come back and go 4 for 4 on a night, his first night back in the majors. There were some things that Jacob pointed out to me while we were watching the show that you just feel really good about Alek Thomas being out there. But again, Alek Thomas is not a god, and he's not able to make plays like.
Yeah, I mean, just having the defense back out there in center.
It's good to have his defense back out there, right? But there were still some balls hit his way where he didn't play it perfectly himself, right? He made mistakes. He's still
Will Smith double should have been a triple in the ninth inning.
Yeah. But it's all I will say is that this team needs their parts back, and of course we have some roster moves that were made today that changed, some things, of course. And that's pretty weird because, of course, we find out that Jordan Montgomery is now on the IL, and that's something new. I guess we'll talk about we have roster news to talk about. But before we get there, I want to, of course, once again, give credit where credit's due. Ryne Nelson had himself a good day today. And Ryne Nelson, honestly, he's starting to look like a guy that could be incredibly good for this team out of the bullpen. 5 innings pitched. He gave up 6 hits, 1 earned run. He walked 1, struck out 3. And of course, that's it's encouraging to see Ryne Nelson. He oddly steps up in these games and gives a pretty good performance against, especially the Dodgers. Tonight, he matched his career high by tossing 5 innings in relief. It marked the 3rd time in his career throwing 4 2/3 innings or more in relief when allowing run or fewer. And it's the second time he's done that at Dodger Stadium this season. So again, Ryne Nelson, he's got that dog in him a little bit.
There are times,
I don't know if he's a starter, but he's got that dog in him.
There are times when you watch him pitch where you're like, man, where did the stuff come from?
Yeah.
And he's always had a pretty electric fastball. His fastball stuff has always been pretty good.
It's pitch variety. It's all about
pitch
mix.
What are we talking about? We're talking about him throwing the slider more today. We're talking about him trying to mix in a cutter. Yeah. Like, if he can start adding pitches to his arsenal, he becomes increasingly more effective.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Tonight, he limited his four-seam fastball below 50% of his pitch usage. That was 46%. He threw the four-seam fastball 36 times. What he threw a ton more was his cutter. He threw his cutter 25 times tonight, which was 32% of his mix. And that right there changed his arsenal completely. It's just a pitch that looks so much like his fastball, but his fastball tonight maxed out at 97.3 miles per hour and was averaging 95, whereas cutter is averaging 91.2. You're dropping that 4 or 5 miles per hour off the velocity.
It's a different look.
And it's a completely different look, but it's a pitch that looks exactly like his fastball. And then you drop
the hammer because his slider, it has a lot of vertical break on it.
Yeah.
It's not like Sewald slider is kind of a frisbee, right? It kind of just comes flat. But his slider, it gives him a nice versatility. Like, there was a time that I hated watching him pitch because all I watched was fastballs down the middle.
Right.
And like, over the last month, I know he's had some rough starts too, but over the last month, you see these flashes where you're like, man, if you mix your pitches right, your stuff actually plays. Mm-hmm. It plays.
Yeah.
That's big league stuff.
Yeah. And I think that, he threw his changeup a little bit more, but again, it was mostly just mixing in that cutter that really allowed him, to at least have a different look towards batters. Again, he didn't strike a ton of guys out, but I feel like Ryne Nelson is probably at his best when he's probably not striking a lot of guys out and just kind of pitching to that contact. But of course, he's not our king snake tonight because we have to give it to Jock Peterson. Jock Peterson's home run was huge. Of course, this is also because we already had it queued up thinking that this was going to be a win. So maybe I'm not It
did say go ahead, Homer, at one point.
It did say go ahead, Homer. So maybe I'm not the only guilty one here of putting things on.
No. What was it? It wasn't go ahead, Homer.
Yeah, it said go ahead, Homer. Yes.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean a winning Homer. It just means go ahead, Homer.
You know exactly what it means, Jacob Franklin. You know exactly what it means.
Don't you pin this on me.
I'm not taking the heat alone, you son of a bitch.
I am willing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put myself on screen for this.
Sure.
I am willing to wave a white flag. Mm-hmm. I think it's time for this to be over. Will Smith, you have won. Will Smith.
My God.
I will no longer wage war against you and call you a bad baseball player.
Oh, man. You are letting Damon down. How dare you? Damon would never admit defeat in any way, not to a Dodger.
I've been doing this for 2 years, Derek.
What the hell?
I've been doing this for 2 years, and Will Smith has had the best offensive numbers for a catcher pretty much over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And eventually you take enough loss, enough casualty on one side that you just need to know when the white flag has to come out. Yeah, and watching that double in the 9th inning, that was my white flag.
One thing you people know about me is I will die before I admit I'm wrong, ever. And you know that. So that's the position I'm taking. And I would never concede victory to a fucking Dodger. I'd die before I did that. I can't believe you. Anyway, I can't even look at you. I'm disgusted with you. I'm not disgusted with you guys though. Well, maybe some of you. I don't know. Some of you probably deserve to be disgusted with. But of course, I'm glad. I'm glad all of you are here in the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to the channel right now. Sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss whenever our wonderful shows on this wonderful network go live. Of course, also drop us a like. We appreciate when you do that. Leave us a review if you're listening on the audio podcasting side, and make sure you are subscribed over there as well. We have our friend Dalton Feely in the chat, by the way, from John Boy. Also, excellent pitcher, by the way, in the warehouse games. Not sure if you've had a chance to see him throw his best stuff. Maybe we need him in our bullpen. But he said, for the record, this loss is solely on me and I apologize. So thank you, Dalton, for stepping up and being more mature than Jacob or myself. We appreciate that. What do you got?
Derek and I are just over here calling each other out.
We're just blaming each other. We're just looking for someone to blame, but we appreciate you. And I can't wait to see you in Dallas, by the way. Also, big gigantic shout out to Bet365. We are so excited to be partnering together with Bet365, which has 90 million users worldwide. You've seen it on Diamondbacks games. They got the early payout offers across NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball. If you don't know what that's about, you can get down on the baseball early payout offer where you are a winner if your team goes up by 5 runs ahead, and you'll get an instant payout. Parlay and same game parlay selections will be marked as winners. That's all you got to do. Go up. We know the Diamondbacks are feast or famine. All they got to do is go up by 5 runs. Get down on this action on Bet365. You can get, of course, not only all of that wonderful stuff, but you can get live stream 780,000 events each year. You can bet on 365, and you can get the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 different sports. They even have esports. So if you're a big esports person, got to get in on the esports action. Right now, new customers can choose between 2 offers when they open an account at Bet365. Use code PHNX365 to sign up. Deposit $10 and choose either between a bet and get an offer where you bet $5 or more and you get $150 in bonus bets, or a first bet safety net offer where you can place a bet of up to $1,000, and if your qualifying bet loses, you receive a matched refund and bonus bets. With Bet365, of course, you get all this fun stuff. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHNX365 when you sign up. Choose your offer and find out why it is never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and over and physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text NEXT STEP to 53342, or visit problemgambling.az.gov. And of course, you guys know that I got us to partner together with Mint Mobile just so that I could secretly become friends with Ryne Reynolds. That's literally the only reason why I just want to go to a Wrexham game with Ryne Reynolds, but I got to do my part, I guess. So when that comes to cellular service, you got to check out Mint Mobile. Drop your wireless plan right now because it's overpriced and you're going to save big with Mint Mobile. If you are a new customer at Mint Mobile, you can get a premium wireless plan starting at just $15 a month for your first 3 months. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on nation's largest 5G network. And they may or may not give you Ryne Reynolds' telephone number. I don't know if that's part of the deal. I've tried to negotiate for that on my behalf, and I figured I could just give it out to all of you guys. But the important part here is that you ditch your overpriced wireless plan with Mint Mobile's limited time deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for just $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/Diamondbacks. That's mintmobile.com/Diamondbacks. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Diamondbacks. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on a first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Well, of course, we got to get to the numbers before we bring Jesse Friedman in here from Los Angeles. So big shout out to our friends from Desert Financial Credit Union for sponsoring the count. Let's take a look at the count right now from tonight's game. Dodgers outscore the Diamondbacks by a score of 6-5, out hit the Diamondbacks 12-10. Runners in scoring position, Dodgers were 3 for 11 for a 273 batting average, while the Diamondbacks were just 1 for 8, 128 batting average there. 1 home run for the Dodgers to the 2 home runs for the Diamondbacks. And the Diamondbacks hit the ball a little bit harder, 39.3% hard hit percentage to 35.5%.
I think Pete Yoshi said they had a 290 XBA.
That's incredible. That's incredible. It's sad, really, because it's a night where I felt like the Diamondbacks pitching really did a good job up until the end there. Of course, the bullpen was not perfect. They weren't what they've been at times for this team. You had Justin Martinez come in. He gave up that home run to Shohei, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, that was off of Justin Martinez. That was 2 earned runs. And then, of course, the 2 earned runs by Paul Sewald. This is one of those nights where
This is still a top-tier bullpen. This is still a top-tier bullpen.
Well, I'm just saying, your guys that have been doing it, we asked to see Justin Martinez in high-leverage situations and not just some of the blowouts.
Yeah. And here it is. He walks the 9th hitter in front of Shohei Ohtani.
He walks the 9th hitter in front of Shohei, and then he gives up that home run. And then you also have Paul Sewald with, by the way, his first blown save of the season. So let's not start talking about Paul Sewald being Mark Melancon. But there's also Thunderbolt 47, who, by the way, never shows up in this chat after a win, by the way, and thrives on the sadness, which is something that nobody should do. None of you should be completely wrapped up in just the bad when it comes to this team.
I have unconfirmed reports of more blame.
What do you have?
I have a text interaction.
With who?
Between Dalton Feely and the John Boy social media admin before Paul Sewald.
Dalton?
These timestamps are at 12:48. He says Sewald has not given up a run since 2024 debut back on May 7th. 17 scoreless appearances coming into tonight. 15 2/3 innings pitched.
He was asking for it.
I think everybody was asking for it, is what we're finding out.
That's not great. All right, so it is on Dalton. So we could stop placing blame.
Yeah, it's everybody. It's everybody.
Yeah. But like I said, not a terrible night for the pitching staff, but a terrible night for Paul Sewald. And we're still gonna debut this even during a loss. I don't care, because I'm excited about this. I've been waiting a very long time for this, and well, it's here. So folks, let me introduce you to our Circle K strikeout meter. Let's take a look at that. How many strikeouts we have on the night there?
7.
Faj? 7 strikeouts
7
for the night?
I counted well. I counted good.
Yeah.
Counted true.
Yeah.
7.
I mean, that's a combined strikeout. It'd be nicer if that was just starting pitching, but yeah, there we go. 7. 7 strikeouts. So thank you to the fine folks at Circle K for our strikeout meter. They let us borrow that one from Chase Field. I have to return it, and they told me not to break it, but you guys know how I am. I'm bad with stuff, so that's probably a terrible idea. Let's talk, though, quickly about the roster moves. I know we're going to talk about these a little bit more when Jesse gets here, but of course, the Diamondbacks did make a plethora of roster moves today, and those roster moves impacted, obviously, tonight's game. It was a whole lot. They reinstated Gabriel Moreno from the 10-day IL. They reinstated Alec Thomas from the 10-day IL. They recalled Gavin Hollowell from AAA Reno, a relief right-handed pitcher. They optioned Blaze Alexander to AAA Reno. They placed Jordan Montgomery on the 15-day IL with right knee inflammation, retroactive to June 29th. And they designated catcher Tucker Barnhart for assignment. So that's where we're at with the roster moves that were made today. Of course, Torey did have some comments today in regards to some of those roster moves that Jesse got. Let's first hear, do we have Torey on Jordan Montgomery?
Yes.
Yeah, let's take a look. This is what Torey had to say about Jordan Montgomery's injury.
It was Saturday's bullpen. He didn't make a pitch. He was just walking back up to the rubber to continue his bullpen, and he felt a little discomfort, so he shut it down. I think he was about 4 or 5 pitches short of a full bullpen.
Do you have any idea what the timeline could look like on this? How long he's going to need down?
No, we got to get that inflammation down. Anti-inflammatories, that type of stuff. So get that inflammation down to where you can get back out there and function without feeling the discomfort. That's the most important thing. Timeline. Yeah, I've got one, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I don't really want to give you what the timeline is.
Generally speaking, does it feel like a shorter term thing?
Yeah. We feel like it's hopefully going to be a very short term thing.
Potentially the minimum.
Yeah, I think it could be. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the situation with Jordan Montgomery might be part of the reason why he's experienced some of the issues he's had this year. Hopefully, it is. Maybe it's just a mystery IL stint to just give him some time off and to let him get right. Not exactly sure there, but the big news is that Cristian Mena was seen in the Diamondbacks clubhouse today. As Jesse saw, the move isn't official yet. It's going to be official as of tomorrow. But Torey Lovullo did comment on Mena and what he could bring to this team.
Christian Mena is on the taxi squad, and it's probably one of those really terrible secrets that we're trying to keep from everybody. But he's here, and we feel like if that does come up tomorrow, he deserves the opportunity. He is continuing to grow and learn. He's a young starting pitcher. He's had a lot of really good moments. We feel like he can change speeds, work the ball around the zone, and follow a game plan. That's the most important thing to us.
I love when Torey says it's like a secret, but then you see him walking around and people know what he looks like, and you're like, hey, he wouldn't be here. He's supposed to start today in Reno. But Cristian Mena had some brilliant moments this season. He's also struggled a little bit lately.
Yeah, he's got a 7.4 over his last 5 starts, but it's really tough to gauge as a PCL. It's really, I love the guy, but Tommy Henry has a 3.5 consistently in the PCL.
Yeah,
you just never know with success.
He shoved the other day.
Yeah, you just never really know with what success guys are having down there, what's actually going to translate and what's not.
Well, the Diamondbacks have a bunch of guys right now in Reno that people want to see. They have a bunch of guys that people are kind of chomping at the bit to see, at a major league level, especially considering some of these guys are absolutely hitting the cover off of the ball, and the Diamondbacks are struggling like they are offensively.
Stevenson De Los Santos has 26 homers in 75 games.
Andres Chaparro just went 4 for 4
tonight. Yeah.
Right?
There's guys.
Adrian Del Castillo, right? There's some people, honestly, are one thing I completely agree with is it was a real surprise for the Futures game at the All-Star weekend roster to drop, and to see that the Diamondbacks representatives are Davison De Los Santos and Drew Jones. Drew Jones hasn't been having that strong of a season, and it really just feels like the fact that the Diamondbacks drafted him second overall is the reason why we're seeing him in the Futures game.
He's hitting 300 since late April though.
Not lately though.
He went 3 for 5 2 or 3 days ago.
Yeah, okay. Well,
so he's off and on. He definitely has cooled off. I know in May he was literally otherworldly. He was 360 in May and definitely cooled off in June. But I'm hoping that everything regresses to a mean with all these kids.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the way baseball
there's a happy
always
medium.
works.
He's not going to hit 170. He's not going to hit 380. If he hits 280, 290 the rest of the way, sure. He's 20 years old.
I would have liked to see Adrian Del Castillo in that game. I would like to see him on that roster. He's a name that a lot of people are excited about. Of course, you guys were talking in the chat there about the Diamondbacks DFAing Tucker Barnhart. That took, I think, us off guard as well. I did not see that being the case. I guess to the Diamondbacks, he was really just kind of a veteran backup to Gabby, and they might like what they see out of Jose Herrera, or at least see something comparable out of Jose Herrera and Tucker Barnhart that allows them to say Spider-Man meme those guys and be like they're both the same. But the roster moves, we knew that the Diamondbacks were going to have a problem here, and you can call it a happy problem, but it's not. It's really a problem of not really knowing who to send down, not knowing who to part ways with. Of course, the popular selection by a lot of people is, that the Diamondbacks DFA Geno Suarez. But again, tonight, even watching Kevin Newman play third base over there, once again reminds you, I don't know if that would have been a play Geno would have made, that Newman kind of botched there, but it just reminds you once again, the minute that someone else is playing third, that guy at least is kind of a no-brainer defensively over there, even though he's struggling at the plate like he is. There's also talk about Davison De Los Santos, where he's going to play. They said that in the most recent start that he was over at first base again. De Los Santos could be the Diamondbacks' replacement for Christian Walker after this year if they go.
Nobody wants to hear that right now.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just.
He hit a home run today.
I'm just talking.
He's still got a snake. He's still got a snake on his on his jersey.
No, but
one thing I will say about a lot of these kids, and one of the things that I truly, truly, truly respected about this organization last year is they were not afraid to make the hard decision. and I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to say things that people would like me to say on here. But there's going to come a time that you are going to have to make a decision that doesn't necessarily, like, we all might support it, whatever it is. It's really difficult, and it felt like last year they made those decisions, right? They made those difficult decisions. Nick Ahmed is the longest tenured Diamondback in the history of this franchise. They made the decision because they needed production. And I don't know how much longer you can go without production when you've got somebody like Chaparro who's hitting .310 down in the minors. You've got Divas De Los Santos knocking the cover off the baseball. Last year they said perform or go. There was no other option. It was perform or go. Carson Kelly, bye. Nick Ahmed, bye. Madison Bumgarner, bye. They have not done that this year.
I mean,
to some degree, they have not done that. But they're not DFA. I mean, they just straight up, they DFA'd Barnhart, right? But, like, I'm talking like you invested $20 million.
To play third base? Honestly, who do you want to play third base?
I mean, I'd love to see Newman get more reps over there. For sure. I'd love to see Newman get more reps over there.
Until you become a fickle baseball fan a week from now after he makes 3 errors over the course of a week and costs
Derek,
the Diamondbacks.
You've known me for how long? Game. And when have I been a fickle baseball fan?
You broke today.
Sure. One time in 3 years.
I know. And I was here to witness it.
Right. But last year they made strong decisions.
Yeah.
And it just, sometimes it feels like.
But they made strong decisions because they felt like, for instance, when it came to starting pitching, that they had better young arms that would do better than Madison Bumgarner.
Do you think Chaparro deserves a look?
I think a lot of these guys deserve a look. But the problem is that, once again, you got to do it for an extended period of time.
Yeah, and right? I love Geno. And look,
and honestly,
everybody that knows me knows that I'm fully bought in on Torrey, and we know how Torrey feels about guys, right? Like Torrey's just like, you know what, I'm going to keep riding him because it's one of those things that like you got to believe that like I said, everything regresses to a mean. Geno showed that he can hit for power. Like I want to believe that every time Geno's in the lineup, that's the day. Right? Like, I want to believe that. But at some point, when you're going to hit the All-Star break and there are legitimate times where it feels like there are games being lost because you can't get production from certain individuals at the plate, it is really hard to swallow when there are options that may or may not be great defensively, but at least provide you a little bit more with the bat when your offense is struggling to score runs.
Yeah. But
that's all I'm trying to say.
That could be said though about
if they want to trade for Luis Rengifo, sure.
I mean, we're like, again, I understand people's frustration with Geno, but he is a guy that went 1 for 2 today with a walk. Like Geno wasn't the problem today. He was subbed out for McCarthy. McCarthy got a big hit. But again, just like this is one of those games that I feel like there's entirely too much pinning the blame on anybody besides the person that deserves the blame in this loss. And it's the person who would probably take the blame in this loss, Paul Sewald.
Paul absolutely would own up. So would Justin Martinez. He would say, I made a bad pitch to Shohei Ohtani.
Right. But again, the Diamondbacks rectified. They overcame that mistake. So it ultimately comes down to the fact that this team had a 5-4 lead and 2 outs. And Paul Sewald gave up 3 straight hits. You could question Torrey and say, "Oh, he should have walked Freeman." Teoscar Hernandez has beat us all year long, and he also got the game-winning hit. So I don't know if the outcome is different if you walk Freddie Freeman there. But again, the blame here is on Paul Sewald, and that's the person who, in my mind,
I mean, realistically, if you walk Freddie Freeman, he's not scoring on a single. I guess that's where you would go with that, right? Like you're at least only tied and not losing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, once again, hindsight's 20/20. I think Paul Sewald, and we're going to hear from him just a bit later. I have a feeling when we hear his soundbite on what went through all of that mindset and decision making, right. I think he would tell you, I should have gotten him out.
Right.
I made a bad pitch and I had him 0-2. I made a bad pitch.
That's what it comes down to. And it's not like Torey Lovullo went with some sort of crazy thing where he had Ryan Thompson in there in the 9th or something like that. He put in his closer. His closer didn't get the job done. And honestly, again, yeah, you could walk Freeman. That was just another base runner. Gives up the hit to Hernandez. That ends up being the game-winning hit. It at least was going to tie the game. Am I right about that? So regardless, we would have gone into extra innings. It's just...
For sure.
Yeah.
No, he would take the blame. He would absolutely stand there and take the blame.
Yeah, right. But again, Mays Devil says it would have been a game-tying single, bruh. It would have been a game-tying single, and we would have gone into extra innings. The Diamondbacks don't really do well late in games this season. That's just been a proven factor. So, again, who knows how it goes? Who knows if they get out of the inning with Andy Pages or if Sewald gives up the game-winning hit. I understand, though. You manage in baseball and you play the percentages. And in that case, yes, you have a much higher likelihood of getting Pages out. But again, Hernandez was also the AL leader in strikeouts last year. So you're trying to play,
Hindsight's 2020.
Everything.
Hindsight is always 2020.
Hindsight's always going to be 2020. That's the way it works. But of course, we thank you guys for being here. And of course, we thank the Desert Financial Credit Union for sponsoring the count. For more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union. They got me started on my home ownership journey, and they got my finances squared away. Hopefully, they can help you get started on your financial journey, whatever it is, if your home ownership journey, financial savings goals, whatever you're trying to do with your finances. You can look to Desert Financial for checking and savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and so much more. When you open a free checking account online, you can get $200 in bonuses. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200. Also, big shout out to Game Time, by the way. If you are like me and you're trying to get last minute tickets to the All-Star game, Game Time is the way to do it. If you want to travel, you want to go see this team on the road, you want to go see your favorite manager, Torey Lovullo, manage the National League All-Star team, come on out to Dallas. And of course, you can save on last minute ticket deals. You can save up to 60% off by buying tickets for sports, concerts, comedy shows, theater, so much more. You can even save more with exclusive in-app deals that you can select your seats ahead of the game or event, or maybe even allow Game Time to do that for you and save even more. Just pick a section and they'll pick you out a seat. Of course, you can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Well, of course, we are very excited to get Jesse's thoughts on how this game went down, especially at the end of the game. So here's the one and only Thunderstick, Jesse Friedman, my vice mayor, your Thunderstick. Is it raining there? What is happening? Oh, yeah, they're working on the field again, aren't they?
What's honestly incredible, Derek, is that up until the moment that you brought me into the show, it was complete silence behind me. And then you bring me in, and here we are.
They were waiting
The war
for it.
zone. The war zone is
like,
back
"Hold
at
on.
Dodger Stadium.
He hasn't started yet. Wait. All right, he's talking now. Go, do it. Do the thing.
Hopefully it'll calm down a little bit, but based on past experience here, probably
It's just
won't.
gonna get louder.
So probably.
Well, this was quite a game, Jesse. And of course, there's a lot of heartbreak with this game. The Diamondbacks did play the Dodgers fairly well, but it wasn't enough there at the end. Of course, we've talked a little bit about who's to blame here. It very much feels to me like this is one of those ones where, Paul Sewald blows his first save of the year. It's unfortunate timing, and it sucks, but there is a lot of questioning about how that game ended. And of course, if Torey Lovullo and Paul Sewald there should have maybe given Freddie Freeman that free base at first.
First of all, yeah, Paul Sewald has been so good for the D-backs this season. He came in with an ERA that starts with a 0, and I think his ERA now starts with a 1. So he's been just spectacular for this team this year, and frankly, you really can't. You can fault Paul Sewald for having a bad game, but you can't really fault Paul Sewald for anything beyond that. Like, he's been everything you could have possibly hoped for and more this season. It was bound to happen eventually, as unfortunate as that might be to say. But yeah, I do think the question of should the D-backs have put Freddie Freeman on. I think that's interesting. Torey Lovello did talk about that after the game. It was one of the very first questions he was asking, maybe the first question he was asked. And he said that the D-backs were considering that. If the count had been 2-0 on Freeman to start the at-bat, I'm sure that they would have gone that route. But it was an 0-2 count. And when you're in an 0-2 count on a really good hitter and you've got your closer on the mound, you're probably going to try to go get that hitter out. And unfortunately for the D-backs, it didn't work out. It really wasn't a terrible pitch that Sewald threw to Freeman. I think we'll hear from him, from himself, Sewald himself on that a little bit later. But Freddie Freeman is obviously just a really good hitter and was able to put that ball in play. The other, factor that I think you have to mention is that Teoscar Hernandez still singled as the very next hitter. So you're looking at a tie game at that point. Maybe the D-backs are able to send it to extras if they put Freeman on first base, but who knows?
That's it. Like I said, we don't live in that reality. Unfortunately, we live in this heartbreaking reality where we just had to deal with them losing in 9 innings and not possibly losing in extra innings. Or, they have been good in extra innings, so it's not like it's the worst thing. They haven't. It's not a big sample size, but they've done all right there. However, this game did feel like things were going the Diamondbacks' ways at times, and it felt like probably one of the biggest heartbreaks of the season because of that. I think it was such a heartbreak because it felt like it went from one of the best wins of the year to possibly one of the hardest losses to swallow.
I think that's just how it goes, right? Like anytime you're close to what feels like a really, really big win, if you lose that, it's just gut wrenching, right? I mean, this probably feels way worse for people than if the D-backs had come out here and Ryne Nelson giving up 7 runs or something. You just kind of move on to tomorrow. Nelson pitched really well in this game. It was 5 innings, 1 run. He has a 0.90 career ERA in this ballpark. Somewhat inexplicably, he's been quite good here at Dodger Stadium in 2 starts this season. And the D-backs, like Joe Mantiply was good in the first inning as well. But I think the D-backs just had a whole bunch of missed opportunities in this game. I mean, I think about in that first inning, they still gave up a run because Lourdes Gurriel appeared to misplay a fly ball off the bat of Shohei Ohtani. You go forward a couple of innings. I think there was a Freddie Freeman single that Eugenio Suarez might have been able to, if not convert an out, at least get his glove on the ball and keep it on the infield. That would have saved a run theoretically if you play out that inning. And then offensively, I'm sure you guys have talked about it already. There's the inning where they've got the bases loaded, nobody out, and they're unable to tack on any more runs. They had another inning with a runner at second, nobody out. They weren't able to score there either. And both of those situations with the 8, 9, and 1 hitters making all 3 outs, that being Alec Thomas, Geraldo Perdomo, and Corbin Carroll, kind of a rough day. Yeah, the young guys. It was a rough day for those 3. The D-backs, I mean, between the defensive miscues and those missed opportunities, I mean, this is a very, very winnable game for them. And as you said, it would have felt huge to come in here and beat the Dodgers with Ryne Nelson on the mound. But obviously it didn't happen.
Knowing you still have Zach Gallen to go in the series, right? And knowing now that the roster move made today, Jordan Montgomery is no longer going in the series. Let's talk a little bit about that, Jesse, because obviously we played your video from earlier where Torey talked about Cristian Mena being the worst kept secret in the clubhouse. Is Mena going to make his big league debut tomorrow?
Well, officially, I don't know, Derek. I can't say for sure, but unofficially, I think I can say pretty much for sure that Cristian Mena will pitch for the Diamondbacks tomorrow as the war zone situation.
Yeah, it's time. It's time to drown you out.
There's a tank good that just drove by me actually. I think it's pretty safe to say Mena is going to start tomorrow. He really is the next man up for the D-backs in terms of their starting pitching depth. Obviously, Tommy Henry, you would think could be an option, but they're deciding to go a different route here, and you can understand why. I mean, Tommy Henry pitched really well the other day. I'm not sure exactly how he would have lined up. Maybe that factored into the decision a little bit, but Mena's been he's been pretty good for the D-backs in the minors. I mean, I think it's a 4.90 ERA. That's not going to jump off the page, but given the hitter-friendly environment in the Pacific Coast League, Mena's got pretty good stuff, and it should be really interesting to see what he looks like tomorrow. If he pitches tomorrow, Derek, 'cause officially,
if he pitches tomorrow, we don't know. Well, this is speculation, pure speculation on my part, but it seems like a big task for the youngster, to play against the Dodgers. However, I also have noticed that when Torrey manages games erratically a little bit like this, like starting Mantiply today, even though that's a weird thing to do with your one good lefty relief pitcher, it feels like trying to keep the Dodgers a little bit kind of off guard is part of the game plan here. You're going to get Zach Gallen, and you know what Zach Gallen is going to give you, but I think that, of course, this isn't the worst idea, especially considering that Jacob was talking a little bit earlier about just trying to give some of the younger guys an opportunity, trying to do something different, which is something that worked for them so well last year, but we haven't seen as much of this year.
Right, yeah. I mean, the Diamondbacks are in a position now where they need results, right? I mean, there feels like the team is being a little bit more aggressive with, moving on from Tucker Barnhart here. That move was made official today. And then also the decision to bring in Christian Mena and kind of see what he can do. I mean, it'll be really interesting. Like, facing Shohei Ohtani is the first batter you face in your major league career. Like, that feels like a difficult thing to do. That's likely what Mena is going to be up against tomorrow. But what we've said about him time and time again is that the fastball is kind of the pitch that, at least in the minors, he sort of had to protect. The fastball got knocked around quite a bit. The velo jump that we saw in spring training hasn't really stuck. It's more 93, maybe 94, somewhere in that range. But the breaking stuff is really, really good. And he's flashed a pretty good changeup at times as well. So the secondary stuff, I think, has a chance to be about as good as the secondary stuff of any one of the Diamondbacks pitching staff. And I guess Zach Gallen maybe in a class of his own. But Christian Mena has really, really good breaking stuff. And it should be interesting to see what that looks like here tomorrow.
Do you think he will, if he did pitch, hypothetically, isn't just on the taxi squad, would he start? Would he come in relief? What do you think?
I think he would probably start. I mean, the only alternative that really makes any sense is what the D-backs did today with having Joe Mantiply as the opener. I'd be pretty surprised if you did that back-to-back days. So I think that Mena will probably start tomorrow.
People in the chat are wondering who gets sent down. Right now, according to the Diamondbacks press release, their 40-man roster is at 39. But they would still need to make a move, essentially, for Mena to be on the 40-man roster, right?
So yeah, I believe Mena's already on the 40-man. So okay. I don't think he's gonna take a spot on the 40-man roster. But he is, the D-backs are going to have to send someone out from the active roster to make room for him, of course. And I somewhat assume that would be Gavin Hollowell, who was brought in today, sort of his bullpen coverage when they put Montgomery on the IL. So we'll see what that move is tomorrow. But it kind of feels like it'll be Hollowell, just given that he was sort of here as an extra arm that Diamondbacks don't necessarily need at this point moving forward.
All right. Well, what do you have from the clubhouse for us?
Do we have our videos?
I think we're ready to go. What do you got?
Okay. Yeah. So I guess first of all we have let's go with Paul Sewald talking about the decision to pitch to Freddie Freeman as we were discussing earlier, and then also kind of what went wrong in this outing tonight.
I mean, never going to occur to me that we walk in, right? I think I've earned the respect to try and pitch to people, and Freddie's just one of the best players on planet Earth, and it's just unfortunate timing of the hit. He gets out 70% of the time. It's part of the 30.
Were those two pitches supposed to be, the one to Smith and the one to Freeman?
I mean, those are supposed to be open fastballs. That's where I throw them. I'll have to go back and look at them. I feel really good that Will Smith was right down the middle, and then the only time I've ever gotten Freddie out were pitches that are right down the middle, and the only time he gets hits are really good pitches. So my guess is that it was probably a good pitch that he got a hit on.
Yeah, that one was a little bit off the plate away, but you wanted a little bit higher.
It's not shocking. I don't know how he does it. His bat doesn't really make any sense physically how he can get the barrel to anything, and he manages to get the barrel to everything. So you just just hope that you face the bottom of the lineup as many times as you can against these guys, and it didn't work today.
That's a rough one, Jesse. And also,
are they constantly doing construction at this ballpark?
No, I guarantee you that is one of the clubbies cleaning cleats off is what that sound is. And that's some shit that could stop for the 5 minutes while we're talking to players. But anyway, Jesse, yeah, he wears it. But I mean, what else are you supposed to do here with the way that this went for him?
Yeah, I mean, I guess let's go to the video of Torrey where he talks about Sewald and how he's been really good this year. And this was just kind of one of those days.
I don't know how many saves he has, but he spoils us, and it's bound to happen. It happens to every great closer in this game. And what do I make of it? Nothing. It happens, and we'll turn the page quickly, and we'll be behind him for his next opportunity.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean that's the only approach you can when a guy has just blown one save this year. But I think the thing that Diamondbacks fans feel, Jesse, is it feels like it extends beyond just Paul Sewald, right? This feels a lot like, that period of time we went through last year where it didn't matter who Torrey threw in there in the ninth, they were going to blow it, right? And so that's not really been the case with the bullpen lately. But it's like the minute that happens, it just invokes that feeling of, oh shit, here we go again.
I mean, it brings back memories of the old pre-Sewald Diamondbacks, right?
Mark Melanson, Scott McGuff, yeah, those days.
Yeah, where you get to the ninth inning with a 1-run lead, and it's like, well, this feels like it's basically a 50-50 shot, like kind of who knows what's going to happen. And Sewald did get the first 2 outs of the inning. I mean, he struck out the first 2 batters. Looked like he was about to cruise to yet another quick, efficient save. But obviously that's not quite what happened in this one. The other reliever that we should probably talk about, you guys might have already, is Justin Martinez, who did give up a very, very important home run earlier in the game. D-backs had a 3-2 lead. That became a 4-3 deficit on one swing by Shohei Ohtani. And Shohei Ohtani does things like that. So here's what Torrey had to say about a tough outing for Justin Martinez.
That's what it is, and we're still developing young pitchers here, and J Mart continues to grow and learn piece by piece. Even though he gave up a 2-run home run, I think he's going to take a lot with him from that at bat in that moment. So he's on his way. He's going to have some bumps in the road, which is all to be expected. But I love that he was on this stage today and had that opportunity to go out there and get big outs.
I guess walking Lux is kind of the killer in that inning.
Yeah, that's what we just got done talking about in here. You can't walk Lux. That to me is with all respect to that number 9 hitter, you can't in a 1-run game walk that hitter, walk the leadoff hitter before Ohtani. Everybody knows what's possible when it happened.
Yeah, Lee says the leadoff walk was killer. Have to make him earn it, and that really was the thing that killed it there.
It really was. Yeah, I mean, it's well documented that Justin Martinez has had his command issues, and that's not just last season. Like, his walk rate this year is still on the higher end for sure. It's about 4.5 per 9, I think, is what it was coming into tonight. But that's a guy that, as Torrey said, that's a guy that you just can't let that happen. And for Martinez, the command issues have never really felt like he was nibbling. They just feel like he just sort of goes through stretches where he can't put the baseball where he wants to. And because of that, he's kind of liable to walk anyone. His command could fall apart against Ohtani, or his command could fall apart against Lux. It just feels like it's kind of more of a mechanics deal than him trying to pitch around guys or be too fine or anything like that. So it's tough. I mean, there are so many things in this game that you could point to and say, oh, if that didn't happen, then this game changes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the Ohtani homer kind of is what it is in some ways. I mean, he's going to do that to you from time to time. But walking Lux, I mean, that's a run right there. Gurriel not making that play in the first inning, that's a run right there. Suarez not getting a glove on that ball, I believe it was in the 3rd inning, that's potentially a run right there as well. Yeah. So just a lot of things that the D-backs could have done better. And, of course, as we talked about earlier, all the situations where they could have scored more runs than they did and were unable to come through. So a game of what if tonight for the Diamondbacks for sure.
That's why to me I feel like it's crazy to pick everything apart because you could also say that the Dodgers made numerous mistakes that allowed several runs to score for the Diamondbacks as well. It really came down to the fact that the Diamondbacks had a 5-4 lead with 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth
and 2 strikes
and 2 strikes. That's really what it came down to. And again, I know there are a lot of things you could point out too. It's kind of like when you look at the offense that scores 5 runs, you could be like, they should have scored 7. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Like, you could say that, right? But specifically, when you get down to it, the Diamondbacks had a lead with 1 out left to get, and they weren't able to get it, right? And so it's not all on Paul Sewald, but if you really want to blame somebody for faltering tonight, it's the mostly reliable dad of our bullpen. And I hate even doing that because I love Paul Sewald, but at the same time, that's who's to blame tonight. And I feel like everything else outside of that is really splitting hairs because you don't know what would have happened or how the game would have played out differently. You really just know that really when it came down to it, the closer that you've counted on all season long was the guy that unfortunately gave up 3 big hits and it resulted in the loss.
I mean, up until like a week ago, right? I don't think the Diamondbacks had lost a single game this year because of in part because of Paul Sewald giving up a lead or Ryan Thompson giving up a lead. Like before Thompson had his rough day, just about a week ago now, those 2 guys had basically been flawless this year for the Diamondbacks. Like they had literally never lost a game because of either of those guys. And that's just not really a realistic outcome throughout the entire season. Like even the very best closers, and no closer's ever going to lose a game by themselves. Of course, it's a team sport. It's a function of other guys not doing their job as well. But you are going to lose games late in brutal fashion because a reliever has a rough night, even for the best relievers in the game. And so this is just that reality kind of unfolding. Like if you thought that Thompson and Sewald and J-Mart as well, like if you thought these guys were going to have 0.7 ERAs the entire season, there's a reason that just doesn't really happen in this sport, no matter how good you are. And the D-backs have kind of seen that the hard way here over the last week.
Like Ryan Thompson, which again, Elise points out there. Yeah, like Ryan Thompson had his terrible outing, and it sucks. It comes at a very inopportune time. Usually it does when you have a high leverage reliever come into the game in a big moment and they blow it, right? Like that person is a high leverage reliever for a reason. They're typically reliable, and it's the exact guy you want in that situation. We were all thrilled to see Justin Martinez being used in this game in a high leverage situation until we weren't. And again, there's something too, right? You could criticize Torrey there too, because Justin Martinez, like the ups and downs for someone like Justin Martinez sometimes might be part of the issue a little bit. I don't know. I don't want to blame it completely on that, but like, again, you used him to get out of an inning and then you bring him back out and things go the way they do. Like, again, these are things that you want to try to get someone like Justin Martinez this experience. You want J Mart to be that reliable lights out guy that you can use in these high leverage situations. But because he hasn't been used in them, there's still like some growth there for especially when Torrey wants him to go out there and get 1 out in an inning and then come back out and pitch in another inning.
I did think it was telling just how quickly he bounced back from giving up the home run. I believe Will Smith, he struck out on 3 pitches.
The splitter was pretty filthy. It was filthy. The splitter to Smith was filthy.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, just to see Martinez, as you mentioned, like he hasn't pitched in that many big spots like this, to see him go through that and feel what it's like to have Shohei Ohtani hit a go-ahead 2-run, 433-foot bomb to right field against you and just instantly lock it back in and throw nasty stuff to Will Smith to strike him out on 3 pitches. There were 0 outs in the inning at the time, and he was out of the inning within a couple of minutes. So I do think, as you heard Torrey describe earlier, this seems like it was a big learning moment for Justin Martinez, a moment that he can grow from. But obviously, it hurts tonight for him to have to experience that.
What you got? Anything else from the clubhouse?
That is all we have. That is all we have from the clubhouse, at least in terms of videos. I will say, Torrey did talk about the small ball element of this game for the D-backs. You guys might have touched on that already. Jake McCarthy laying down a bunt that turned into a run for the Diamondbacks because
Chaos.
Blake Trinan.
Yeah.
The chaos ball was back for a day, Derek. We haven't talked about that a whole lot this year because there hasn't, frankly, been very much of it. But McCarthy did that, and then Corbin Carroll also laid down a sac bunt that helped the D-backs score a run in this game. Torrey did confirm that was called from the dugout. That wasn't just something that Corbin did on his own. So we haven't seen a ton of it this year, but the D-backs kind of got back to that a little bit today. And it was fun to watch. I mean, it worked really both times they tried it.
Well, and that's what got them the lead, right? It was those things. It was Geraldo Perdomo getting on there and scoring on the Ketel Marte single. There's just things that, again, you see this offense peter out at times. You see this offense with 2 outs, kind of lay down quietly, and instead you're seeing with these guys back, with Geraldo Perdomo specifically, that there's just a life to this team, especially at the end of games now that they didn't really have this season. Don't get me wrong. We talked about it, Jesse. They are now officially 1-39 in games where they were down by 2 runs or more. So that is a real thing that exists and is happening to this team this year. The answer backs are still not back. But tonight they showed the most life, I think, that they've shown all season long, especially against an opponent of this magnitude. Not just that it's the Dodgers, not just that it's the National League West, opponent, but it's the fact that the Diamondbacks really do have to try to find a way to get back to winning. And this is a team that they love to step up for. I mean, we saw it last year. We're seeing it again this year with the way that they're playing them. They're continuing to play them very tough. They're just not able to finish the job, especially today. The roster moves we did discuss before the game. And we did talk a little bit about, some of the things we were a little surprised by, the Tucker Barnhart DFA. And now, of course, we also have Blaze Alexander being sent down. What were your thoughts on these moves that were made today?
Yeah, Torrey talked about the Blaze send out and how hard that was. I mean, Blaze Alexander came through with a really big hit for the Diamondbacks in his final game. And then he gets sent down pretty much immediately after that. So, Torrey talked about how it was tough. But I can understand why the Diamondbacks made this move. I mean, frankly, Blaze Alexander has been just has struggled offensively quite a bit since like the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season. The last couple months for him really have not felt all that great. There have been, stretches here and there. But yeah, Torrey just talked about wanting to have more consistent at bats, talking about his approach at the plate, the defense being more consistent as well. We saw his defense get better, but I don't think it was ever maybe quite as sharp as the D-backs would like it to be. So there is some, kind of some fallout from that move. Like, what do the D-backs do at third base now? The revelation not that long ago was that Suarez and Blaze would split time at third base, with Suarez still getting the majority of the reps there. And it sounds like that's going to continue from what Torrey said today, but now with Kevin Newman basically operating in that same role. So you saw Kevin Newman play a little third base in this game after Jake McCarthy came in to pinch hit for Suarez, and I think you might see more Kevin Newman starting at third base. Not half the time, but maybe 1 or 2 games a week.
Well, I mean, Blaze never really got consistent playing time, it felt like. So, of course, that kind of feels like it trickled over to his consistency with his at-bats. We know a lot of people are very unhappy still with Geno Suarez over there. And I, again, don't mean, because like you said, Geno made a mistake himself today. Kevin Newman, when he stepped into that role, as much as we all want to see whoever they put over there, whether it was Blaze, whether it was Kevin Newman, whether it was Perdomo, succeed, they just instantly remind you, even on plays they make, even on a play where they successfully get an out, how different it is for someone playing third over there that isn't Geno. It just sucks that Geno's just having such a terrible season offensively, because I understand people's desire to see someone else that can contribute better offensively over there playing, third base. However, it's not an easy, place to play defensively. And I feel like we're reminded about that anytime Geno isn't playing.
It's a very fair point. I mean, Kevin Newman didn't play long at third base today, but you did kind of notice, right? Like, I think both of the plays that he made, if I'm remembering correctly, were a little shaky. One in particular, I think, was the last out of that 8th inning with Kevin Ginkel on the mound. Big spot there, and Ginkel was able to get out of it, but Newman bounced to throw to first base, and fortunately Christian Walker was able to clean it up. But it's true, Newman has not exactly looked like a natural over there at third base. It's looked a little off for him, but it's also a really small sample size, and we've seen like 2 games from Newman at third, so probably a little early to be writing him off defensively or anything. But I caught some of your guys' conversation earlier about Chaparro and what the Diamondbacks should do at that position. It's hard to say. I mean, you look at the numbers De Los Santos is putting up right now in AAA. Chaparro also is putting up pretty good numbers. I think De Los Santos probably makes more sense than Chaparro does. Looking at the expected stats, Chaparro's expected slugging percentage in Reno is actually .438. I just looked that up. It's really not very high at all. So I think the underlying numbers would definitely favor Davis and De Los Santos of those 2 guys. But as I wrote in my prospect report the other day, even De Los Santos, his chase rate as of a couple days ago was 43%, which is basically unmatched by any hitter in the majors right now. Like, there are almost no major league hitters who have a chase rate that high. Salvador Perez is like the only guy I could find who had a chase rate that high and also was a reasonably successful hitter. And his whiff rate is also really high. I don't think there's a single major league player right now who has a chase rate and a whiff rate as high as Davis and De Los Santos are right now in AAA. And that's in AAA, right? You have to account for the adjustment to the majors. So frankly, like looking at Chaparro and De Los Santos on paper right now in Reno, I understand why the Diamondbacks would be hesitant to go to either of them. I don't think their numbers really scream like, oh, this guy's ready for the majors. Could get to that point soon, especially with De Los Santos, but I don't know that we're really there yet.
That Lawler injury hurts really bad. Really bad. Because that felt like for that first week that he was back in Reno, that felt like the solution. Yeah. I mean, he was hitting the crap out of the baseball.
Well, I know Longo's probably in the clubhouse right now. Any chance that he's willing to just put some spikes on and go out there and see if he can give it one more go?
Yeah, we have had like more Longo sightings in the D-backs clubhouse or around
he's hanging out all the time.
Their facilities.
The boys.
Yeah, he's like the guy who he's like a year ahead of everyone else, but he just can't let go. So even though he like kind of graduated, he just has to come back and hang out with everyone else. No, it's tough, and I know that the Arizona Republic and MLB.com had stories with Mike Hazen talking about the trade deadline. And Hazen did mention a bat likely on the infield as something the D-backs could be targeting. But I mean, I'm sure we'll look into some options here and come up with some potential names at some point. Yeah, I think Rengifo is interesting, but I don't think Rengifo is a great third baseman, if I'm being honest. So you'd probably take a step back defensively from Suarez to get, granted, what you'd hope would be a pretty significant step forward offensively. So I don't think the D-backs are really solving the third base problem this season. It's just a matter of trying to salvage it and turn it into something that's not a liability for this team.
Salvador Navarro in the chat brings up a great point there, Jacob. If you scroll up just a little bit, he said, for years it was the same with Ahmed at shortstop. His defense kept him in the lineup. This is just not Suarez's year. That's a great comp because, Nick Ahmed's defense was incredible and just super reliable to the point where it was a no-brainer about, him being at shortstop. However, yes, fans grew tired of his lack of offense and they just want to see somebody else in there. That's where Perdomo got his start, was getting those opportunities. And now Perdomo is like literally Damon would murder most of us. And I say us. I'm not even throwing this on you guys. I'm saying he would kill me over Perdomo. He would die himself for Geraldo Perdomo. But of course, Jesse, we know that this game makes some of us want to die because of how heartbreaking this ending was. Diamondbacks, though, will shake it off, flush it, and try to steal game 2, maybe game 3 there in Los Angeles, which you will be present for and covering. So, of course, we thank you for that. Jesse's sacrificing one of our few off days around here. We have an off day on 4th of July. Not for Jesse. Jesse will be in Los Angeles covering this game. So, but what that does mean is we're going to be bringing you some extra shows this week. We will have a post game tomorrow. No show on 4th of July. You enjoy your time with your family. Jesse will enjoy his time with baseball. We'll be back on Friday with another post game show. And here comes the ocean again in Jesse's background. And then we'll have another post game show for you on Saturday because Jesse's not just stopping in Los Angeles. He's going to San Diego and going to cover that game against the Padres. So, Jesse, we thank you for all of your hard work being out there in California. And I look forward to going on the next trip with you, which is very exciting. This guy too, Faj over here. Of course, when we go on all of our road trips, we always make sure to fill up and stock up at Circle K. It is the place to do that. And of course, we thank them all. We are all Circle K tonight. We're in Studio K. We got, I don't have a Polar Pop, which, as you know, I'm contractually obligated to receive. So, Jacob, hurry up with that somewhere. I don't know. Go get me one.
Where's that in the contract?
I don't know. Yeah, well, I'll show
No,
you.
never snap at me again.
Yeah, I know. You didn't like that. I didn't like that. That felt wrong. But, of course, that's just because I'm thirsty and hot and a little irritated by this loss. Of course, a great way for me to get over that, for you to get over it, is with a Polar Pop for just 79 cents from Circle K. You can also join their Inner Circle program for free right now by downloading their app. Terms and conditions do apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. But when you do, if you sign up for that Inner Circle, you'll save 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. You'll save 3 cents off per gallon every day after that, and you'll get all sorts of wonderful coupons in the app on all of their products, all of their wonderful snacks, and of course, most importantly, on those contractually obligated Polar Pops that Jacob refuses to get me. Another wonderful thing you can pick up from Circle K is Four Peaks beer. They have a wonderful selection of beer there, but of course, the best beer to get is Four Peaks, and the best Four Peaks beer to get is the Bad Birdie Juicy Golden Ale. Of course, I could use one of those tonight, but it is their collab between Four Peaks and Bad Birdie. Two of our other, just all of our partners, everybody's hanging out. We're all collaborating. We're all doing special stuff together, and this is another example of that. So make sure to check out the super drinkable, juicy Golden Ale by Bad Birdie and Four Peaks, and make sure to keep some in your fridge or your tea box. Bring it to the tee box with you next time you go play some golf. Visit fourpeaks.com/locator to find all your favorite beers and events. Check out at Four Peaks Pub and at Four Peaks Brew to keep up with the latest at Arizona's hometown brewery. Must be 21 or older to drink Four Peaks, and please drink responsibly. Big thank you to all you guys again for joining us in the chat. We hope we can bring you a happier time tomorrow night. But until then, you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at cap_caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. Of course, Jacob is at Jacob_Franklin4 because he is the 4th best Jacob Franklin.
The number 1 best Faj, though.
I mean, you are. You're number 1 in my heart when it comes to Jacob Franklins. But of course, our show is at PHNX_DBacks, and all roads do lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you again for stopping by. We appreciate your time so much. We will see you back here tomorrow night. And until then, have a wonderful evening. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when your closer doesn't blow it with 1 out left to go.
We all silly like the mayor.